Welcome to this week's episode of Lagnapod. I'm your host, Rob Holbert. We have a few folks here. Introduce yourselves, people.
Ashley Trace.
Grant McLaughlin.
Scott Johnson.
Kyle Hamrick.
Tommy Hicks.
The team is assembled. The Justice League is here. We have got some craziness going on right now with redistricting. I mean, that's what we've been going on this whole week has been what is happening with this redistricting situation. You know, it was when the Supreme Court came out last week with the ruling in the Calais, Louisiana versus Calais.
Yeah.
You know, there was still a talk that, well, you know, this injunction that's in place in Alabama is going to keep Alabama's maps in place, but that ain't how it's happening.
That's not.
So what's going on? You've been on this a lot.
Yeah,
Kyle.
It's mile a minute coverage here. So Monday night, the Supreme Court came out and said the injunction.
This is the U.S. Supreme Court.
The U.S., the big daddy of all courts, came out.
Big dog
said that the current map, the injunction is lifted. And in
Alabama's injunction is lifted.
Yes, and the federal court in Birmingham that put that injunction in place needs to reevaluate the congressional voting district map under the Louisiana v. Calais case.
So when the legislature met last week and came up with a plan that said if this injunction is lifted and if we're allowed to change the maps.
Yes.
We're going with the one that was approved in 2023 by the legislature.
That the federal court in Birmingham said was racially discriminatory and unconstitutional and led to the injunction in the first place.
Now, if all that's not weird enough, they kicked it back down to the very same court that found that map unconstitutional.
Yeah. So now they have to come in and they have to decide, do we go back on that ruling and go in light of the Louisiana case, or what are we going to do?
Okay, so
that's where we are now.
I'm getting on Polymarket right now, and I'm going to bet that this same group of people who said that this map was unconstitutional are now going to allow that map to be.
You know, I have been
bet my entire life savings on that.
After the discussion we had on this, I am starting to think that they may just do that. Because at first I was like, there ain't no way they're going to go back and say that it's ain't no way was what I said. But
you were skeptical from the beginning.
because the Supreme Court came in and they overturned the Dred Scott case from the 1850s because it was bad. So they could totally come in and say, you know what, we said it was bad back then, but it's good now.
Yeah.
And let's be done with this thing. But also, there's been a lot of strange things that have gone on. So it doesn't seem to me too far out of the realm of possibility that they would say come up with a new map.
Yeah, I think what you're looking at is the reality of political pressure versus the reality of legal rulings. You know, and the political pressure is getting really great on these individuals. High. As you know, I thought from the beginning that the appellate court was going to kick it up the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court was going to go ahead and take that injunction off. Mm-hmm. Now we'll see where it goes. If the appellate court now comes back and says you can use the 2023 map, then what happens? Then we've got beach blanket bingo.
Bingo, bonanza, chaos.
People don't know where they're running yet. They're running, but they don't know what from or where to.
Yeah. Several rats have jumped ship.
Is that an Eagles song?
I don't know. It sounds like
it's very, very poetic. Wow. Several folks have jumped ship. I mean, because like in Mobile, where we are right now, the city of Mobile is in D2. But if the old map is put in, we go back to being in D1
with Baldwin County.
More or less the old
District 1.
Yeah, that had Jerry Carl.
Currently, right now, as it stood, Jerry Carl was running, and who else was running for D1? Rhett
Yeah.
Marcus.
Rhett, Marcus, Joshua McKee, James Dees, Austin Sidwell, John Mills. There was a whole hee-haw gang of folks.
The front runners
Now,
would be Rhett Marcus.
Rhett Marcus,
who
Jerry
lives-
Carl,
He-
Joshua
born in Baldwin
McKee.
County,
hee-haw
lives
gang.
in Mark.
Yeah, but now, because of the possibility of going back to the old map, Rhett Marcus has said, I'm going to run in D2, which now has my hometown
That would
of
be
Enterprise.
right. That would be the
Wiregrass
old. That would be the old District 2 that Barry Moore held.
Right.
that Barrymore used to hold. Yeah, that's right.
So it would more or less mirror that one. It would,
Right.
A little slight differences, but it would more or less be that one.
Yeah,
And so
Josh McKee has done the same thing. He said, I'm going to run in the old D2 against Rhett Marcus.
Yes.
I
And
thought he lived in Foley, though.
but he does live in Foley. But don't forget, you don't have to live
I know,
in the
but,
district.
I mean, I just don't know why that makes more sense for him.
because he doesn't think he can beat
beat
Jerry Carl.
because Jerry Carl is now the prohibitive favorite to win his old D1 seat.
And he'll only face at
changed.
this point.
Yeah.
I mean, all this.
Unless
is
someone new qualifies.
well,
Because there's gonna be a new-
let's not get there yet. Let's not hold. I got to hold this mess in order here. We're going to get to that in a second.
Yeah.
It feels like whiplash, man.
We're going to get to that in a second. Let's talk about where people. Let's continue talking about where people are running, and we'll get to that mess.
We
in a
will.
minute.
We will
Okay.
get to that. All right.
Okay. So
Jerry Carl's in D1.
Jerry's staying in D1.
Jerry's staying in D1. Rhett and Josh are in D2.
They're moved to D2.
And Shomari Figures, the current congressman for D2, is trying to figure out what he's going to do.
Shomari is a man without a country at this point. He does not know where he's going.
The music is playing, and he's still trying to find a chair.
He's still figuring it out. So
which one is it? One or two?
They've created.
That's a Springsteen song.
That's one step up, two steps back. But that's anyway. But you've got for Shomari, they've now put him in the situation where he has got to choose one of two. He's got to pick his poison, basically.
Right.
And both of these districts are going to be predominantly Republican districts.
Right.
And he is going to have to try to win in a Republican district, regardless if he wants to be a congressman.
And will he try to win in his hometown of Mobile and Baldwin, where he currently is, or will he go with where District 2 is now, and it's all of the wiregrass in the southeastern corner of the state?
Okay,
it's a precarious spot.
So we don't know on that one yet, but we know on some of the other things. All right.
Yeah,
we're going to put that away
now. All right.
Now we're going to get to. Let's talk a little bit about the fact that there is going to be a second round of qualifying.
Yes.
So new people could theoretically get into this.
More new friends could join the race because
it would be kind of crazy, but it could happen.
It would be nuts. Because if the courts allow us to go down the 2023 path that we want to go down, next week there would be only 2 days of qualifying.
Yes,
May 20th to May 22nd for a special primary on August the 11th.
Okay, so but. Well, we're going to get to the rest of this. I'm not going to jump ahead either. So,
okay, all right.
So people could qualify. The votes that are being cast next Tuesday and being cast right now, and votes being cast next Tuesday, because there is a primary coming up next Tuesday.
Yeah,
that is not called off yet.
That is not called off because you still got to vote.
I don't mean to say yes. I don't want to confuse people.
Yeah, because you still got to vote for the governor, lieutenant governor, ag commissioner, everybody else on the ballot, sheriff. You still got to vote for that. But your votes for Congress on the May 19th primary will be tossed in the trash.
They will be X'd.
Dumpster.
They will not throw the rest of your ballot in the trash. I don't think you should use that terminology.
Yeah.
They should just say that you will
those votes for Congress will not be counted in districts 1, 2, 6, and 7. The only ones we have to worry about here in Mobile are 1 and 2.
Right.
Those votes will not count.
Those will not count.
You should still go vote because you got to choose who's going to be the governor and the sheriff and everybody else.
And all the rest of
AG,
all the rest of
the whole hee-haw gang.
That other hee-haw gang.
The other one.
That hee-haw gang.
You've got to pick them.
So, then we've got the other election coming up, and you have a circumstance where they're not going to have a runoff on these either.
No runoff in the Congress ones. There will be no runoff. So if you get 42%, then you're the winner.
So if you're in a district that's going to have
You
five,
win by one vote.
if you win by one vote,
if you
are the winner.
If you have a plurality, as they say, you don't have a majority. You've got a plurality. You can still be in Congress.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's
This is
true.
all. It's all lunacy. It is crazy.
It
Or
is.
Sweet Lunacy's County.
And they're
Yeah.
still
Yeah.
hovering over all of it. Hovering over all of this is the possibility, although I think not likely, but I think possible, that this appellate court could say, we've revisited this, and that map still is a mess.
It's still bad.
You got to draw a new map.
Gosh, which in that realm of possibility, there could be another special session to draw another map.
Yeah.
And then another special election.
And then another.
Are people confused
special
enough yet?
election.
I wonder if people are confused.
I
enough.
hope so.
It's taken us 11 minutes almost.
It
to
has to
explain
just
just-
explain
to
this.
do just that.
People, listeners should bring this with them to the ballot to the polling places so they can understand what is going on.
Get AI to do you a transcription of this conversation so that you can
Make a flow chart of some
comprehend
sort.
a flow chart, a flannel graph, something, so that you can see what is happening here.
Yeah,
And even then, your flannel graph might still be not up to date because it's changing all the time.
It is crazy. It is. You've been writing stuff left and right. It's nuts. And then really quickly, we're gonna stay on the election thing. Scott, you just had a story that posted today on Wednesday about Wes Allen, and
Candidate for lieutenant governor,
can-
current secretary of state. Yes, sir.
and accusations that he used taxpayer money to basically put together a campaign, a voting campaign that featured him as the star to help pump up his name recognition.
Yeah, so the Secretary of State's office is required by law to have a voter registration campaign or promotional materials. They get a separate chunk of money from the general fund.
About $900,000 a year.
Until
right?
recently when it was
Until
decreased. But
yeah.
So his beginning in August 24, about 6 months before he qualified to run, he releases these ad campaigns where he's prominently featured. He's a spokesperson for the office saying, register.
I'm Wes Allen, get out there and vote.
Sure. And that seems all well and good. However, according to John Merrill and also a group called the Common Sense
John Merrill,
campaign,
the former, who preceded him as Secretary of State.
Former Secretary of State, and a Common Sense campaign, which is like a Tea Party group here in Mobile and Baldwin, that this greatly differed from Merrill's efforts, where he was able to basically get celebrity guests to pitch voter registration in the state.
Yeah.
He says not only was that made for a better outcome in terms of how many voters were registering, but he's it's
the cost was far reduced.
Yeah, because they weren't paying for any appearances or anything like that. And Nick Saban, Donald J. Trump, they were all donating their time and for the effort. So,
the Common Sense campaign, though, just to be clear, they're supporting Allen's competitor in this race.
Yeah, John Wall.
John Wall. So there's politics involved in this.
Yeah. Merrill is not endorsing any.
Merrill is not endorsing, but Merrill was very frank about his thoughts on it. They were pretty brutal, I thought, as far as what he had to say about Wes Allen.
I think, he's really proud of what he did in office. He said he, in the 8 years he was in office, he was able to have a net increase in voters by like 850,000. He said the efforts by Wes Allen and his his commercials has only netted 130, I think is what he said.
Sounds like there's some history there, maybe.
Well,
I'm sure there is too.
I don't know. It's weird. I have always, I found John Merrill to be he's willing to say things a lot of times. He's pretty candid a lot of times, maybe too candid sometimes. This reminds me of the issue with the Kristi Noem when she was doing all these ads and
Mount Rushmore,
doing all these ads in the Dakotas, and got in a little bit of trouble for that too, putting herself on a lot of ads, and then that there were a lot of controversy about that as well. I think with Wes Allen, I mean it's obviously from the standpoint of yes, it is required, but is it required for you as the Secretary of State to have your face on it, introducing yourself? It's good politics, I guess. It's nice to have somebody else pay for it.
I mean, by the same token, Sheriff Birch does the same thing with the sheriff's department, saying, if
ask the sheriff on the radio.
but just even advertising, saying, call us if you've got somebody. So is everything like that?
I think you have to look at, like they did. I think you have to look at some of the results and say, well, if this was if it was a very effective program before, and he just deviated from it and got a lot worse result by plastering his face all over it. I mean, I can see the criticism on that.
I could also argue that Paul Birch is almost like a local celebrity in a way.
Well,
but he's doing it for the sheriff's office during election time.
It gets messy. Yeah,
it always does. All these things do.
I agree.
It's tough. It's not. I mean, I'm sure that
or like how many press releases are coming out from the sheriff's office when election time hits.
There's certainly all those things. Wes Allen, and certainly I've gotten.
I'm just using that as an example. There are definitely more. I mean, I think you could probably go down the line.
I mean, Steve Marshall's certainly putting out a lot of press releases right now. And making a lot of statements about things that don't have anything to do with his race, but it's getting his profile up there. It's pretty common. Yeah. But it's a good story, and definitely one that I know that it's political time, and there's certainly people trying to dump on one another. Yeah. But we have to look at the stories and see if there's something really there. And I think
at the same token, if we don't run it and we know what, right? Yeah. I mean,
I know it's damned if you do, damned if you don't.
Right.
But, so, doing in that vein, we're going to take a break, and we're going to go get with Tommy Hicks after this. Be right back. And we are back. There's still sports going on in the middle of this as we're getting, I guess we're getting real close to summer, very close.
We're closing in. We have state championships decided already in tennis and track and soccer and golf. We got softball and baseball to finish up. And
any of our locals doing any still left in these things?
Yeah. In baseball, we have just one team, which is kind of amazing for us.
Yeah.
Usually we have a lot more than that. Faith Academy in Class 5A is ranked number 1 going into the tournament. They have not lost a game in the best of 3 series so far through 3 rounds.
Okay.
They play in the semis this week for a chance to play for the title next week. Softball South regionals are closing up. We do know that we have Daphne, Fairhope, Baker, Saraland, and Orange Beach all will go to the state tournament. There's still some of the other classes to be determined about the regionals. I guess the main thing there is Orange Beach has only lost 1 game out of like 40 this year.
Okay.
And they're looking for a 6th straight state championship,
right.
So that's not bad.
Pretty good.
Yep.
And then I think you've got some more info on Mary G. Montgomery's coach at this point.
Yeah, I mean, Zach Golson he's on leave of absence while the AHSAA investigates whether or not they violated recruiting rules by they always have like an 8th grade signing deal where kids move up to varsity. And allegedly, there were players out of their feeder district that actually are supposed to go to other schools that were at this
showed up, yeah.
And there were supposedly photos on social media of them. So the AHSAA is looking into this. At first you look at it and you go, oh, okay, there'll be a slap on the wrist and it'll be something like that. But Zach Golson, the head coach, if they find that there are recruiting violations, he could be suspended for a year.
Wow.
Alex Page, the defensive coordinator, has been named interim coach in charge. He led them through they had their spring game last Thursday, won that, and now they just sit and wait and see what's going to happen. So
this is all just like trickling down from college level, isn't it? I mean, this is just so stupid.
Just recruiting. Everybody does it.
Well,
they're starting high school football.
Starting to even pay the high school kids now. Yeah. So it's getting a little ahead. And then we have a local guy in a PGA championship.
PGA Championship is this week, and Magnolia Grove head pro Paul McClure qualified by one of the 20. Well, they have 20 spots for head pros from all across the country for this tournament, and he qualified at Bandon Dunes, which golfers will recognize as it's a relatively new course, but it is a tough course. So he managed to finish in that group of 20. So he will tee off on Thursday morning with the likes of Rory McIlroy and Scotty Scheffler and those kind of guys. So that's pretty cool.
Fun for him, man.
Yeah.
Maybe we'll have a movie-type moment out of this thing.
Yep. One other golf thing I forgot. Yes, on Tuesday, the state championships were determined, and Spanish Fork girls won the 6A title, and Sarah Carter Hare, their leading player, was the individual champ there. Great. So did pretty well.
Very cool. Well, thank you, Tommy.
Thanks.
We're going to take another quick break, folks. We'll come back, and we've got plenty to talk about. And we are back. One of the stranger things that I've ever seen in my life is that appears that Dolly Parton may be getting rejected in Orange Beach. Is that what's going on, Grant?
Yeah, it is.
America's sweetheart. She's a treasure, a national treasure, and
she's like my celebrity grandmother.
Yes.
But the people of Orange Beach will greet her with pitchforks and knives and signs that say, get out of here, Dolly. Go back.
We even named a bridge after her around here. So I mean, what's going on over there?
Dolly is an owner of a company that puts these restaurants, dinner and show restaurants, called Pirates Voyage.
Pirates Voyage,
or Pirates Voyage, as I call it, because I'm weird.
It's a little Frenchier. Yes.
Well, thank you. And it's going to go in this old RV park in Orange Beach, and
classy.
Everyone just despises this idea. There were I think maybe one or two people during
So it's a fairly large piece of land, right?
Yeah, I can't remember the exact acreage, but I believe it's over 40, and the city has actually entered into negotiations to acquire a piece of it that has a lot of nature-ish areas, like trees and fauna and such, if the deal goes through. But that really doesn't appear to be enough. So the rub here is that it's going to be next to all these neighborhoods.
Yes.
And a lot of the people think it's just going to create a traffic nightmare, and that during the busy season of the year, which is, summer, it's the beach, it's just going to be, terrible. And so
this would be, they would build a new building, I guess. This is like a theme park type thing. There's going to be
so it'll be like, if you've ever been to...
You can eat genuine pirate food. You can eat hardtack and things like that.
If you've ever been
Dixie Stampede, but pirates.
I actually think of it as like the medieval times on the sea.
Yes.
So it's going to be a huge building, and they're going to have, if it goes in, they'll have about 3 shows a day. They're expecting
3 shows a day?
Hundreds of cars, each, I think between 200 and 300 cars if it's a full show.
Yeah.
And that's per show. So you're talking around 1,000 vehicles in the town, new vehicles every day.
They're going to sail and sink that ship 3 times,
or at least several times per week. It'll depend on
pirate crazy there.
And it slows down in the winter where they might close the restaurant for a few months. But I mean, even if it's just 3 days per week, which it could be depending, because some of the other locations do it differently. We're talking like 3,000.
So what was you went to, or you covered the meeting that they had the other night, rather, and what happened at the meeting? Was the public really just that against this?
Yes.
Yeah. Were there a lot of people there?
There were, I think there were like over 100 people there that I could see just from, I was watching online, and they would occasionally pan the camera to the crowd.
Yeah.
And it was the high school auditorium is just fully packed. And I mean, even a 9-year-old girl got up there saying, you're going to tear down all the trees. Please be careful. Please respect the environment. a lot of people had problems with, the tearing down of trees, with the re-landscaping of the property, and the other half of the opponents really just cared about the traffic. And it got into this thing where Mayor Tony Kennon was just arguing that we can't really do anything. We can try to buy the land, but it's under contract. And then he kind of surprised everyone when he said he was entering into land negotiations with the Dolly Parton's company, to which a council member said, "Mr. Mayor, we're doing that? We're negotiating for some land on this?" And he was like, yes, I am.
Okay.
And that was pretty much it. But it was one of the more interesting meetings in Orange
Definitely.
Beach.
Well, you would think that Dolly Parton would have the carpet rolled out for her anywhere she
I do
goes.
have to ask, would they rather have an RV park with like 100?
It sounds like
I think that they'd rather have the Dixie Stampede. I think they're just not a fan of the pirates and they want the Civil War instead.
The Dixie Stampede, yeah, maybe so.
Oh my God.
I don't know.
I mean, regardless, if it goes in, to Tony Kennon's point, that it would create a lot of money. It would, 3,000 cars a week.
That'd be a lot.
People
if you
spending
can
money.
get that kind of money in there, if you can get that kind of thing going on.
I mean, I know I love Dolly Parton too. I do, but when I go to the beach, I don't want to go sit in some dark dinner theater.
It doesn't make a lot of sense to me, but who knows what people.
That's what you do in Pig for Gay.
And there's no guarantee that Dolly's even going to be there. I'm just saying, there's no guarantee that she's going to show up to any of these.
She'll probably come down.
Dolly just got a nice big fat check for lending her name to this. It
I would
has
imagine.
nothing to do with it.
Absolutely.
I don't know that. That's just my guess.
It's just a guess. Well, that's you would just think anything with Dolly's name on it would just be immediately welcomed with open arms. But maybe people don't like pirates as much as we thought. And then this week's cover story, Scott, you had on Cowboy Bob Clark, the former defense attorney around here, who is I guess just a really larger than life character, and it's a really good story to read. A lot of folks probably didn't get a chance to meet Bob Clark, but he was an interesting dude.
Yeah, I wish I could have seen him in the courtroom. He sounds pretty fun to watch.
He was fun to watch. He was definitely a lot of hand waving and bluster
Singers.
and yes, he was. Yeah, there was
the
a lot
one-liners.
of stuff. Yeah. He definitely was full of one-liners, and that's what a lot of people remember about him. He was the biggest thing I got to see him do was defend Herman Thomas. That was during the Herman Thomas trial, and that was a really, it's a big trial. The trial of the century around here for sure. It's definitely the biggest trial we've covered, and
I would put No
Dine's trial up there too. Yeah, that was definitely one. But Herman's trial was pretty big.
But also the trial of Ebony Ice, the third biggest.
The Ebony Ice trial. Yeah. The Ebony Ice trial was my favorite one that he covered. Yeah. That's the mini horse that was sexually abused in Wilmer.
Yeah,
and he represented the gentleman.
Which I believe that case led to the creation of a state law.
I believe it did.
Against such things.
Yes, because part of his argument was nowhere in the statute does it say you can't blank a horse.
Yes.
I think that case was in 2012 and then the law came in 2014.
It ain't illegal to have relations with a horse.
Not in Alabama.
But his famous line was somewhere along the lines. He was riding in the elevator or something, and somebody asked why the guy would want to do it. And he said he was looking for a stable relationship. But and then the other one that was you liked a lot was
that someone was getting off on whatever floor the domestic court's on. One side's domestic violence, one is divorce, and he was like cheaters to the left, beaters to the right, or vice versa.
Yeah.
Anyway, he was a character. He retired.
He also had a very colorful name for his hot tub, which we will keep to ourselves.
Yes, that's probably more.
And he had a limousine. Famously, had a limousine, and he would always wear boots. So I learned that's how his name came about. Was that Barry Hess, another prominent lawyer, called him out one day and was like, "What are you, some kind of cowboy?" And it stuck. So, and that just developed into him just starting to procure cowboy stuff, every kind of flavor boot So
Yes.
everything but a blind flying squirrel is what Jeff
I think
Dean
he
said.
said an unborn flying
Yeah,
squirrel.
there
He
you
had
go.
it skinned and made into a boot.
Yeah, and but I mean, he had like belt buckles that he had turned in. Like he represented somebody from South Africa in some capacity. He had this massive coin that he had turned into a belt buckle.
Yeah.
And it's pretty legendary stuff.
It's like a John Grisham novel.
Yeah, he was definitely an interesting one to watch, and he was a lot of fun. You know, if you like watching court, and a lot of folks do, it was definitely theatrical.
And that's what people say is that for better or for worse, his one-liners were just rememberable. It upset people. It also made him relatable to
Sure.
people, and that's what they said. I think is coming out of the Herman Thomas trial when he was basically acquitted with the split jury or hung jury. He most notably said, everyone was like, thank God, praise God, all the Herman Thomas supporters, and he shouts over him and says, don't thank God, thank Bob Clark. So it had a bunch of people upset about it.
It's a good story, and it's a lot of, if folks who know him or knew him, they'll enjoy it a lot.
Hey, are we about to go?
We are about to go.
Oh, well, before, I just want to remind everyone, Nappy voting is still underway at votenappies.com. We have had over 500,000 votes already. It's crazy.
Yeah, and I also just want to quickly also say, if you are being approached by any groups that say that they can make you win the Nappies if you pay them, you will not win the Nappies if you pay them, and your votes will get thrown out, and you'll waste your money. So don't do it.
Yes, it happens every year. I guess we should be,
prowling around trying to do it.
Sort of proud that it's such a big deal that people are trying to
rig it.
Make money off this.
It's sad, but the software catches that stuff. So don't fall for it, folks. Don't give those people your money. Anyway, that's all we got for this week. Thanks for listening. We'll be back next Thursday, next Lagnapod.
The Lagnapod is a Something Extra publishing production. Executive producers are Rob Holbert and Ashley Trice. Music is by Some Pulse Sounds and Electra Animals. Only subscribers like you have access to this podcast. Tell your friends they can sign up at my.wingappmobile.com. For advertising opportunities, please call 251-450-4466.